Someone requested that I review slash react whatever you consider what I do to be Tarzan, the one that came out in the 90s, the movie that is almost as old as I am. And I thought, what could I possibly say or have to add to a movie that is almost 30 years old? So I thought I would challenge myself and do no notes, because what I normally do when I watch a movie is I'll like watch it, take notes, look back at it a little bit, maybe rewatch scenes over and over again a couple of times to really get a feel and really grasp what my thoughts on it are. But for this movie, I thought I would challenge myself and just let it rip and freestyling, I guess, where I just talk into the microphone because this is what I want to do. So I should get good at it, I guess. Anyway, so sorry if I say something stupid ahead of time. I probably will. Whenever I see like old-timey or vintage or period pieces, I'm always like, this is all cool and all, but like I'm black, so there's not a nostalgia factor for me. So my brain always goes to like, I wonder how they felt about black people. And obviously the feelings were never good. Like, of course they didn't like black people, but it's just, I guess what I'm saying is I never have that sort of like nostalgia feeling whenever I see like Victorian era stuff. I think people have a lot of nostalgia for things that like were objectively bad during that period of time. Like everyone thinks they would be like some Victorian noble when all of us would be chimney sweeps if we even lived past 6. So it's like, that's if you're lucky, you know what I mean? Like all of us wouldn't have been nobles. We would have been like biofuel. But I will say, Phil Collins whipped his dick out and put it on the table for this movie. Like, the soundtrack slaps so hard. It's at least top 4 or 5 as far as Disney movies go, soundtrack alone. The only Disney movies with a better soundtrack than Tarzan that I can think of off the top of my head in no particular order is like Aladdin, Lilo and Stitch, and Mulan. Those are the only 3 movies I can think of off the top of my head where the soundtrack is better, in my opinion. But Phil Collins did his thing. Like, every song on this movie is a banger. Like, every track slaps. This might be a little messed up to say, and I'm not even sure if I should even keep this in the video, but baby Tarzan looks like he was born with like a rare genetic disorder. He looks like he's a gorilla. Like, he looks less human than his parents. He doesn't even look like his parents at this point. It's been so long since I've seen this movie that I don't remember like this opening scene of like them setting everything up for the rest of the movie, of course. So I know that obviously the gorilla's child dies, but I didn't remember that they kind of just watched it happen. So he like pushed her back and was like, no, stop, we can do nothing. And I get that, but like, you weren't angry at all. Like, you wanted no get back. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like this is one of those things where like, you know, online people will be like, oh, do you think a gorilla could fight a bear kind of thing? I don't know. I think a gorilla could beat the dog shit out of a leopard. Is that just me? I don't know. It's crazy to run up on somebody hurting your child, even if the kid's dead, to run up on a leopard eating your baby's face off and just be like, no, there's nothing we can do. And just like, a gorilla can bench like 1,000 pounds easy. You know, like in the Marvel movie where the Hulk grabs Loki and just like does like that thing. Like, I would assume a gorilla could do that with a leopard. You know what I think? He never really wanted kids anyway. Because that would also explain why he didn't really like Tarzan for the rest of the movie, you know? Because he doesn't like Tarzan until he's about to die, if I remember correctly. So I think Alpha Gorilla never really wanted kids. He felt pressure to have kids. So when it was like time that like, you know, the kid died, he was like, no, it's okay. Because like only like 2 seconds had passed between like the leopard catching up with the kid and like the parents showing up. So like, they definitely could have did something. This is completely pointless to the overall plot of the movie of Tarzan, but why does the leopard kill his parents if it wasn't for food? I don't really get it. Like, that's just, okay. It is unnecessarily evil, but animals don't work on a scale of good and evil. I was watching this video about man-eaters throughout history, like the worst man-eaters throughout history. 9 times out of 10, there's absolutely no reason, or like an animal don't go for people. Like, they hunt their natural prey. You know what I mean? Like, a predator will always go after their natural prey. The only time predators go after humans is if there's something wrong with with them. Like, they're unable to hunt their actual prey that they normally go after. Like, maybe their teeth are worn down, or there's something wrong with their claws, or like they have a limp of some sort. There's always a reason why predators go after human beings for whatever reason. So like, this is way more logic than what needs to be applied to a Disney movie, of course, but it is unnecessarily evil to just kill parents as like a leopard. Just like, oh, well, you know, they were here, and like eat no one. Like, they didn't eat the parents, they didn't eat the baby, just gonna kill the parents and walk off. I forgot that the leopard is still in the house by the time she like is starting to bond with Tarzan. And it's crazy that this leopard just specifically likes eating babies. Like, that's it. Doesn't like adult gorillas or eats adult people. It just likes eating babies of whatever species. And I respect that, you know what I mean? Like, just really taking overpopulation to its own hands. That's gotta hurt, right? Like, even for a baby, like, that's gotta hurt his giblets. And she's not doing it gently either. Like, I know it's just a finger, but imagine a gorilla pulling you towards like wood by your penis. That's gotta be an insane amount of pain, right? I guess if I had to choose between that and getting eaten by a leopard, I'd probably choose a leopard. I don't know. It looks painful. They really get their money's worth out of Phil Collins in this movie so far, because it's only been like 10 minutes, I think, which is a good thing. The soundtrack is phenomenal, but like, they really just use them to their utmost ability. Did a baby just die? Play some Phil Collins to soothe their soul. Did another baby almost die? Play some Phil Collins again.
I'm going to be his mother now.
I just know in my soul he was thinking, you gonna be his mama now? We just got rid of the other little one. What the fuck are you talking about, you gonna be his mama now?
What you gonna call it?
I'm gonna call him...
Why is the gorilla who didn't know what a human baby was until like 20 minutes ago correcting Turk on Tarzan's gender? Excuse me, Turk, Tarzan is a he. In this jungle, we abide by strict gender rules. He will be masculine and like the color blue. This scene is especially odd when you think about it, because Turk is objectively the most androgynous character in the entire movie. Being voiced by a butch lesbian aside, I didn't know Turk was a female gorilla until I was 25. On a bit of a tangent, if you don't like your grandparents or just want them to hurry up and die so you can get that inheritance money, explain to them what a he-him lesbian is. Easy heart attack or brain aneurysm. Also, he-him lesbians are valid. Do your thing, kings. I'm telling you, he didn't want kids. He literally says this isn't going to replace the one we lost. They didn't even name the baby, but she named Tarzan. I never thought I'd say this, but the only time, in my opinion, Disney did like an actually good cash grab, where it was like, obviously this is just to milk this IP as best as they possibly can, but like, I'm enjoying the process anyway, so like, I'll allow it, was when they did like a series spin-off for all their like Buzz Lightyear had a show, Timon and Pumbaa had a show, Aladdin had one, Tarzan had one, I believe. This might be a little nostalgia speaking, but I loved every single one of those, especially the Buzz Lightyear one. Those were phenomenal cash grabs. Milk those IPs. I wish they had lasted longer, because I feel like a blip in my childhood that like only I kind of remember, because no one else really talks about them, because they were good. I'd have to rewatch them, but I remember them being good, and not in the same way that I remember the first Daredevil movie being good, like actually good. Okay, now that I'm older, I realize Turk isn't the only queer icon in this movie. Tantor is very obviously gay. If not gay, at least metrosexual. Like, he's a little bit zesty. This is just my headcanon, but Tantor and Turk are two queer friends who adopted a straight dude. And hell, Tarzan's probably not even that straight. He's probably just bi and just hasn't realized it yet. It's fun to stay at the Don't shoot the messenger. I didn't realize Tarzan took place in Africa, which begs the question, why are there no black people, like, at all?
That is a white child. That is Caucasian from the mountains of Caucasus.
Like, I know it's the jungle, sure, but like, why are there no black people? Like, ever? Even if you wanted to try and apply logic to it, wouldn't it still make more sense that an African child would wind up in the jungle and adopted by gorillas than Tarzan's very aggressively English family? Also, just gonna throw this out there. based on the time period and the way Tarzan's parents look. They obviously come from high society. They were either slave owners or factory owners. Taking that into account, maybe the leopard is the hero of the story. Like, who's to say Tarzan's parents were incredibly cruel, classist factory owners who deserve to die? Rewatching this movie has unlocked a level of nostalgia I didn't think was necessarily possible, because it's literally unlocking like core memories I remember having. Because during the elephant stampede scene, I remembered there was a Tarzan PS2 game that I remember playing with my family, and the reason I remember it is because I remember having difficulty finishing that level. That part of the game was unnecessarily difficult for no reason. It just brought back this just wash of just nostalgia that also made me remember that a super underrated game, and this is a hill I will die on, a game video essayist could give me a million reasons why this game sucked and I would still be like, nope, one of the GOATs, underrated. But the Disney skating Xbox game was so good. It was phenomenal. Like, you could pick like from a plethora of different characters. Tarzan was one of the greatest. It also had one of the greatest pop punk soundtracks ever. Like, cut this video off. I don't even care if you finish it. Shout out to you for even making it this far. But cut this video off and go listen to the 2010s, early 2000s Xbox Disney skating game. I don't remember what it's called, but go listen to that soundtrack. Me and my brothers will still randomly sing songs from that game 20 years later.
I'm sorry, Kerchak.
You almost killed someone.
Honestly, if you give me enough time, I could probably spin Kerjak's treatment of Tarzan into how it's anti-white racism. The treatment of young white men in the African jungle is appalling. Is this blackface? Sure, not technically. But why would he think covering himself in mud would make him look more like a gorilla? Two things as I watch this scene. One, why is Kerchak putting up a better fight now than when his son was getting his face eaten off? Two, why is Tarzan putting up a better fight and he's just using like a makeshift spear, but his parents had a whole gun? Which, where did they even get that from? I guess you could say that it washed up on shore. Never mind. I know this is supposed to be like a moment of like triumph over himself or whatever. Like, this is basically a pivotal moment for Tarzan and his hero's journey. But like, realistically speaking, it can't be the same leopard, right? I don't care how old I get, that will always be a cool scene where he like lifts up the leopard's body and like Tarzan yells for like the first time. Sick. Why did he grip her with the grippers? The feet shots in this remind me of, like, I recently saw Rapunzel, and the amount of, like, shots in that movie that don't even need, like, it adds nothing to show her toes at this point was almost baffling. You know, like, it was like, this had to be a fetish thing, right? Like, there's no way. And I get it. She was trapped in a tower. She never went outside. She doesn't need shoes like everybody else. Sure, whatever. Fine. But, like, every shot she's in gotta show the piggies? Every shot? I know because this is a Disney movie, this is supposed to be like, aw, like they're bonding, and it's supposed to be like a very soft and intimate scene where like he realizes like, oh, there's other human beings and like we're all ultimately the same and blah blah blah, whatever. This would be terrifying as a human being, like let alone as a woman, like a strange man. Yes, he just saved your life, so I guess he doesn't mean you any harm, but like you're in a tree in the middle of a jungle with a man. This would be pant shitting levels of terrifying. Like he's like touching you and caressing you and like holding your hand and like getting really close. Like obviously he grew up around gorillas. He doesn't have like an understanding of personal space. Whatever. This would be horrifying. You know how like every Disney movie they always have that, like every song is memorable, but every Disney movie I feel has one song everyone thinks of whenever they think of that Disney movie. And obviously this is my subjective opinion, but the scene of all of the gorillas shoo-be-doop doo-doo-doo, that is this movie's I'll Make a Man Out of You, I think. It's the most like memorable music number in the movie for me.
Protect this family and stay away from them.
I know Kerchak in this scene is supposed to be like this big villain and Tarzan is supposed to be like right or whatever. But Kerchak is right. Like you spent like what, like 30-40 minutes with this woman and now you're in love. Like it's very Disney-esque logic of like, oh, I spent like an hour with you. Now we're madly in love. I trust you implicitly, even though like I only know your first name. So like you obviously mean me no harm. To some degree, I do get it though. Like Kerchak has had this sort of like beef with Tarzan being different Tarzan's entire life. So Tarzan has a chip on his shoulder, and Tarzan has finally met someone who is like him. So like there is this desire to trust them because he is like, they're the same as me and I'm not bad, so they must be good too, you know, which is naivety, of course. But I think it's worse than naivety because it's stupid. You are good and that's okay, but why would you risk your entire family under the assumption that like these new human beings that you just met are also good? You're weird for immediately trusting a pretty woman as soon as you met her. Maybe it's because like English accents in American culture are always portrayed as like sophisticated, even from the aspect of like, oh, this is a villain, but he's like more sophisticated and refined than a normal villain with like a normal accent or whatever. A reason I bring that up is because I hate Clayton more than I hate most other Disney villains, I think. I hate Clayton like I hate some anime villains. Like, for example, Mahito. Pure evil, just awful, deserves no redemption. Celestial dragons in One Piece. And the government. All evil, doesn't really deserve a redemption, despicable. Basically, I hate Clayton as much as I hate, like, a celestial dragon. And I think it's because he's English. I know Tarzan is supposed to be naive, but it's almost childlike how naive he is, and almost stupid, because Tarzan is so childlike and naive, it almost draws into question, can Tarzan even consent to a relationship with Jane? Like, I know it's a Disney movie, and like, obviously this is all fantasy or whatever, but him being able to be this easily deceived draws into question, like, his intelligence at all. Because this is such a dumb move that, like, it makes me draw into question if he can even consent to being, like, receiving affection and love from Jane. Because obviously, like, they end up together at the end of the movie. Realistically speaking, a fully grown alpha gorilla should have been able to rip Tarzan like tissue paper, right? I know it's silly to be, like, asking for realism in a Disney movie, but realistically speaking, Kerjak should have been able to grab Tarzan and throw him around like nunchucks. This is supposed to be like a super sentimental moment, and I guess it's just a peek into how my brain works, but I can only think about how their remains should still be on the floor right there, right? Because who would bury them?
And this is my father.
Who, if you look like over to the right a little bit, 2 feet away, should be right there. If you just take a second to look, Tarzan, I promise they're right there. You can say hello. Honestly, no homo, he filled the fuck out that suit. He got that shit on. I'm gonna be real with you.
No matter where I go, you will always be my mother.
One of the coldest lines ever. It should, well, no matter where I go, you will always be my, oh, right, tug at the heartstrings like no other. He's dead, for sure. He is dead. I just realized just how dark this scene is. Like, it didn't process when I was a child, but Tarzan trying to stop him, the thunder, illuminating his hanging body. Like, the illuminating his hanging body there is insane visually. I think the shadow of his hanging dead body there is worse than just showing his dead body.
Kerchak, take care of them.
And just like a lot of emotionally stunted men, it takes you lying on your deathbed to be emotionally vulnerable with your child. This ain't sad as hell though. That is one thing I will always really like and enjoy about old Disney movies, is that the villain always died. There was no like, oh, like they go to jail or they are reformed or whatever. I'm all for rehabilitation and reform, like people changing for the better. But I'm also for a villain just straight up dying. Like, if you're evil, I'm okay with you just dying, especially in movies and media, because like rarely in life does a bad person receive justice. In fact, they're often rewarded for being an evil piece of shit. So it is nice when in media, like TV and movies, a villain gets what they dish out. It's just a nice, comforting feeling, because it's like, oh, okay, you're a bad person, you deserve to die, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes bad people just gotta go. Like, you just gotta take out some ops. I'm just saying, sometimes bad people should just go and let God sort them out. Tarzan and Jane is really one relationship you would just have to make work, because it's not like she could just leave. She's still in the jungles of Africa. She can't go back to London if they break up. You just have to make that relationship work. Y'all think he practiced that on gorillas before tried it on her? Phil Collins really put his whole pussy into this soundtrack. Honestly, it was super refreshing to rewatch an old Disney movie and like just have a different perspective on things that like maybe I didn't notice before, or like I can have a different view on now that I'm older. I think I will watch more Disney movies, like especially like old ones I grew up on the channel some more, because that was overall just like fun and easy, and like I didn't have to think too hard. I could just like react, and it was also like kind of freeing not to have to like write everything down and think about it too hard, or like what's funny. I could just have my thoughts and just let them rip. I don't know, if you like that, consider liking and subscribing. I know I'm a tiny channel, but like, you know, I'm just a dude who wants to talk into a microphone and make people laugh and be some sort of entertaining. So if I was entertaining even a little bit, consider subscribing, sharing the video. You know, I would really help, and I would appreciate it. So thank you.